Guys, the new lineup, the new Warriors lineup was plus 35 for the first two games they played together. I believe they are minus 36, or I have those backward, since that time. Is that the league figuring them out, or is there something else going on there?
Well, I think part of it, and Steve Kerr talked about this, when Boogie first came back, everybody else was playing so hard because they were so excited for him. They wanted it to be successful. So they were all playing radically harder on the defensive side of the ball than they had. And their defensive rating in those first couple games when Boogie was on the court was something like 80.0
right,
as opposed to the typical 104 you would see. So it was really staggering, and it was mostly because Kevin Durant and Draymond Green were flying around, being everywhere defensively the way they are when they're playing in a finals. And subsequent to that, that energy dies off a little bit. You come back from the All-Star break, and you've got a little bit of that path of least resistance mentality as a defending champion. And they're not playing hard enough to cover for the fact that he's still the same guy he always was defensively, and that's not a rangy, mobile guy even prior to the surgery.
Yeah, no, I think it's a combination of the things Griff just mentioned, as well as teams around the league. The more games that he plays, the more other teams, other coaches get the opportunity to see, okay, where are those weak spots that we could take advantage of this group when he is on the floor? You know, how many pick and rolls can we run in his direction? What type of sets can we utilize in order to take advantage of where he may be weak? So I think it's a combination of those things. But in reality, they're 17-3 since January the 3rd. They're 10-1 with him on the team. So no matter how much we speculate, they're still racking up wins.
Yeah, we're bored. We got to talk about something.
They're still really, really good, no doubt. But you guys know how it goes in the playoff series. If you see something that you perceive as a weakness, his pick and roll defense, for instance, and certainly a team like Houston runs a million pick and rolls when they can, you're going to try to expose that.
Yes, for sure. And that would be the one area defensively where they would be weakened. It limits their ability to switch, which is what they love to do with their kind of quote-unquote death lineup with Iguodala, Green, Durant, Thompson, Curry, and just really make it hard for people. But Cousins is going to, I think, bring enough positives to offset that. And it's really going to come back to Steve Kerr's ability to utilize his minutes effectively and maybe limit them at times to where first quarter, third quarter could be his quarters, and then second and fourth quarter could be time for other guys to be out there.
Minutes restriction has been lifted. He is free to roam about the arena for as long as he can be effective for the Warriors. Keep an eye on that. Everything else happening tonight. There's J.J. Redick, 1 of 10 on Saturday night, and a loss to the Blazers. I'm going to go ahead and say he'll be better tonight.
I'm going to take regression to the mean.
Yeah. Rookie Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is part of an evolving Clippers lineup these days as they sort out the post-trade deadline turnover while trying to maintain hold of a playoff spot. Currently 8th, 1 up on the Kings, 2 ahead of the LA Lakers. And on the subject of the Clippers, it is time to play Give and Go. I give the questions, you give the answers, you go, and we give you 24 seconds to do it. All right? You understand the rules of the game?
Yes.
Who would like to go first? We didn't work this out. Usually there's a coin flip in these situations.
Uh-oh, Griff.
Fish is going first. All right. Question number 1. Will the Clippers make the playoffs? Go.
No. I live in L.A., a lot of Laker fans. I want to go home one day, so I'll say no. No, I just don't think they have enough to finish down the stretch. The Lakers have LeBron. The Kings, I think, have a little bit more of a better chemistry and camaraderie than the Clippers do right now to get over their hump. So I'm going to say no, they do not make the playoffs.
David Griffin, question to you.
I say no, they do not make the playoffs, not because I need to be able to go home to Los Angeles, but because they own their own pick if it's 1 through 14.
True.
And if they make the playoffs, they're giving that pick away. And I have a feeling that a team that's as well run as this one, that invests in analytics and strategy to the level that it does,
everybody cover your ears.
They're going to find a way
cover your ears
to analytically tank, meaning they'll play everybody in the worst possible combination.
15 through 30 would go to the Boston Celtics.
All right.
Will the Clippers land 2 max players this summer, speaking of that overall plan?
Yes. And I can say that because I don't care about worrying about what you're worried about. What? Yes. For this very reason that I just said. They are so incredibly well run. Lawrence Frank and Mike Winger have done such a good job of investing in the process of decision making, of putting them in position to very easily have max cap space for 2 players. They have an owner, Steve Ballmer, who will spend any amount of money necessary. Beautiful new building. They're going to have a new arena in the future as well. This is a situation on the rise. They'll attract free agents.
Wow.
He talked right through the buzzer.
He
You
did.
see that?
Didn't even hear it.
He didn't even pay attention to the rules of the
I think
game.
he knew already what my answer was going to be, so he
All right.
just figured I didn't need as much time to say.
Oh no, you get the, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You get the same amount of time either. and he actually doesn't get penalized.
Okay.
We don't
All right.
really have penalties in
Not sure exactly who. Financially, they have room for 2. I'm just not sure of 2 guys feeling like the Clippers situation, short term and long term, is going to be the best for what their goals are in terms of winning championships and coming out of the Western Conference on a consistent basis.
I feel like a referee should come out here and penalize you in some way if you don't wrap up before the 24 seconds.
What if I go in again? What if they get 1 max free agent and then another free agent, like, I don't know, Tobias Harris coming home? Does that count as 2 max free agents?
Oh.
No, that doesn't count as too much.
They've just under $60 million in cap room this summer already, and it's not that hard to see how they could create enough for 2 max if they can convince them to come. That's always the tough part of the equation. Clippers will host the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, thank you.
Shut
Give
him
a buzzer,
down.
Too much talking, Weiner.
Clippers, there wasn't even a clock on. Clippers
The
host the
Monsignor
Dallas
from
Mavericks.
Missouri does not have the floor.
Clippers in Dallas in Game 2 of the doubleheader. By the way, Luka Doncic will play tonight for the Mavericks. Julius Randle will play tonight for the Pelicans. You'll see the Sixers and Pels coming up live right here. For Alvin Gentry this season, the Anthony Davis situation, obviously, and tons of injuries. Elfrid Payton just returned to the lineup. It'll be his 3rd game back from an ankle injury as the Pelicans take on the Sixers tonight. Once again, here's Jared Greenberg with the head coach, Alvin Gentry.
Well, coming off of Saturday night and the opportunity that your team took advantage of, it's got to be quite the feeling for you and this organization right now.
Well, I think what we got is we got a bunch of hard-playing guys, and we've kind of tried to put everything behind us and just play basketball. I think that's the most important thing right now, and we got a group that plays hard and they play unselfishly, and they try to execute, and so that's all you can ask from your group, I think.
How proud are you of some of those young guys like Diallo and Kendrick and some of these guys, how they took advantage of that opportunity?
Well, it's not so much a surprise when you know that the work that they put in, Kendrick, Jack, Frank, those guys are in here first thing, long before practice start. They get in their player development work. They practice hard. So when you do that, you know that at some point you'll have some success. And obviously you're going to have some growing pains also. But just the fact that they put in the work, I think, is going to give them an opportunity to have some success.
But still young in terms of NBA years. So how would you describe how they've handled what has gone on here the last few weeks?
I think they've also had people that have tried to help them. And you're right. That when you're in a situation like that, I mean, it can have mentally, it can really affect you. But I think that, I think guys like Drew has tried to help them through this and have them focus and understand that that's going to be the most important thing, to just try to play hard and compete at a high level and try to do whatever you have to try to win games.
Is it fair to say that it's only natural for the mentality to switch a little bit in a game like tonight when you've got a team like Philadelphia and you have AD playing as opposed to the Lakers without AD playing?
Well, yeah, because I think there's a little bit of desperation involved and stuff. But I think our guys, I think we're getting back to the normal, whatever our new normal is. I think we're kind of getting back to that. And, AD's a great player, and he's going to try to compete as hard as he can. And when that happens, we'll be fine. I think, like I said, everything is out and on the table. And I think now what we're just trying to do is get back to playing basketball.
Do you know going into each night what the game plan will be for Anthony?
Yeah, we know when he's, we've got a general idea of what's going to happen and stuff like that. And, the big question is, what do we do it back-to-back? So other than that, though, we're pretty sure in what we're trying to do. And the great thing about it is that we're totally transparent with him, too. We sit down, we talk about it. Obviously it's our decision, but we make sure that he understands, what we're exactly trying to do also.
Do you get a sense from him that he wants more or he's okay with the process? How does that conversation go?
I think he's fine with where it is. I think the big thing is that, just having the knowledge of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to put together, and he has that, and I think he's fine with it. That, obviously that would be a question that you'd have to ask him, but in my opinion, I think that he's fine with it.
Saw you speaking for a long time with Danny here at the end of shoot around. Can you give us some insight into what the conversation about the direction and what the goals are here over the next 20 games or so?
I think for us it's just competing and playing hard, and obviously we want to take a good look at our young players and put them in situations where, important situations, I guess, where you can evaluate them from the standpoint of where they are and the improvement that they make over the next 20 games.
I know you have to play each night and you have to go out and finish out the season, but is there any sense of, okay, everything we just went through leading up to the trade deadline, we're going to have to do that again once the season's over because then the trade moratorium is lifted?
I don't think we really spend any time with that. That's not in our department anyway. Our department is to, to put guys in a position to try to be successful on the court, to try to have them execute as well as they can on the court. All the other stuff is in a different department than where we are, and so we just try to take care of what we have the ability to take care of.
Alvin, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Alvin Gentry's handled this situation about as well as a coach possibly could. He knows the deal. Everybody else knows the deal, and he's the one who's got to talk about it every single night. I want to talk about some of the opportunities that have been created for the guys we talked about in the last segment, Diallo and Okafor. But as a coach, as the guy who's got to stand there every day with all the microphones in your face, when there's something like this going on, do you dread that day? You know what questions are going to be asked. You know what's coming your way, and yet you're going to have to answer.
Yeah, I think there are times, and we've seen it from Alvin, there are days where he's just not in the mood. And as a human being, you have to respect that.
Yeah.
But then there are other days, because of his experience, because of what he's seen, the greatness that he's been around, he finds ways to eloquently speak and articulate the way he just did with Jared.
Right.
And lay it out real smoothly, help people understand that you can only control certain aspects of this situation, and we just need to focus on the things that we can control. And he's doing a really good job in a very difficult situation.
Alvin also happens to be a good man, which doesn't hurt as well. We talked about Diallo and Okafor. Okafor, as you mentioned, has basically revived his career in New Orleans, putting up good numbers. And Diallo here, particularly lately, has made some eyebrows raise a little bit with his performance.
Yeah, I think the thing that Shake does that's different than, and you can see the graphic here in terms of their production, both of them scoring and rebounding at a high level, both of them blocking shots, but look at the defensive rating difference there. 112.7 points per 100 possessions when Okafor's on the floor, 104.4 when Shake is on the floor. And the reason for that is similar to what we said about Embiid. He's long and he's really active. He's taking up room on the weak side. He's going to 2-9. He's going to step into the lane, shrink the floor. He's going to do all of the things that he's coached to do on the defensive side of the ball. And you have to give Okafor a lot of credit. Here's a player who recognized what the league was telling him and was humble enough to listen to that input. He was out of the league for a spell. He understood he needed to get in better condition. He lost weight. He became more fleet of foot. He really addressed his weaknesses. Oftentimes, young players that are really accomplished just won't change, and they won't accept what the league is telling them, and Okafor certainly did. And from Shake's perspective, all he's ever been is a dirt-working overachiever type,
right?
And that's exactly what that team needs right now. You know, Alvin talked about in interview with Jared, he said they're going to be paying attention to competing, playing hard, and they want to give young kids opportunity. Well, what makes you stand out like a sore thumb on a team full of guys that don't really want to play out the string is playing like you really want to be there.
Yeah.
You can't help but look good in that circumstance.
Defense has always been the big knock on Okafor, obviously, but he's noticeably leaner than in previous years in the NBA, and certainly seems to have played his way into another deal, whether it's in New Orleans or somewhere else moving forward. Lots more coming up here on the Auto Trader pregame. Warriors already in progress in Charlotte. That's Klay Thompson, 14-12, very early on in North Carolina.